question of the week. How do I control myself when someone wants to express his or her ideas? Here it is husband's ideas. I tend to disregard them. Ego comes in the way. How to better about being open-minded? What is the most effective way to be a better listener? First off, we talked about listening. It's not a good idea at all. Hearing is always a good idea because words do not really travel between the speaker and the one who is hearing. Words don't travel. It's the sound that travels from A to B. So you must pay attention to the sound if you want to hear somebody. The problem that happens to human beings is because we are reasonably intelligent, we have gathered enough experience and knowledge. What happens to us is that there's a constant chattering that takes place in our mind. The chattering is nothing, not that there is something happening there. There are thoughts about a subject that is being spoken to you. For example, now I'm talking to you about Vedas. You may have heard about Vedas from somebody. Nothing wrong about it. But when I'm talking about this subject, the mind already starts to think about what you know about Vedas. It may be partial, it may be full, it may be wrong, it may be right. We are not trying to, dissect that information. But you have some knowledge. When that knowledge is already present inside, what happens when somebody is talking about that subject? Immediately the memory starts to kick the thoughts, and the thoughts are already appearing inside your mind. When thoughts move, it creates vibrations. It creates sound inside. And this sound counteracts with the sound that comes from other person. That's when hearing falters. If you focused on sound, only the sound that comes from me to you, the sound that is generated inside because of the vibrations caused by the thoughts caused by some information, some experience that you have, then what I'm going to tell you will not be understood by you ever in totality. We want the total understanding, particularly in metaphysics. But obviously, this holds good even in our regular conversations with people. We are so ever ready to answer somebody even before you have heard somebody in totality. It's so amazing. It's because we do not know how to hear. And the hearing is intercepted by the vibrations that take place inside the mind. Should you not, therefore, completely contain that, the knowledge that you already have about something? And how do you do that? Because the very first thing to do that is to accept the person on the other side, specifically the spouse, as an individual, as opposed to the label that you're given to him as a husband. The husband causes the problem for you. There are a lot of people who are married here. There are people who are going to get married. So this is a very important lesson. How do you ensure that you give the hearing to the other person? Couple of things. First, hearing has to happen, which means what knowledge you have should not come in the way of wanting to answer or respond to the other person instantaneously, even before totally hearing the other person. You will do that only if you respect that person as an individual. When the label comes of husband or wife, you generally take them for granted. The hearing is lost, completely lost, because you think that you know the other person well. In the initial stages, before you got married, the rules of the game are different. How does it dramatically change the moment you get married? Rules of marriage are not to be changed. They have to stay where it is. And that's so brilliantly given to us in the Sat Fere. what you should do, what you should not do. If you focus on that, please, all of you can Google and find out what this Satveri is all about. It'll tell you how should you conduct yourself with your husband or wife. So when you look at him as the husband, familiarity. And then next thing comes, what I know is definitely better or superior to what he knows. There is nothing called a superior knowledge or inferior knowledge at all. We have to understand that. Because knowledge by itself is finite. So the knowledge that you have right now is not total. Why don't we understand that? Knowledge evolves. You take any knowledge in physical world, it keeps on evolving. When you say there is evolving taking place, it means that previous knowledge was finite. Yes or no? It is. Otherwise, it has to stop there, right? You can't add knowledge to an existing knowledge. The moment you add knowledge, it means that knowledge is not full and final. It is evolving. Therefore, the knowledge that you possess is not infinite. The knowledge your husband possesses is also not infinite. Both of you are treading the same path. Then where is this question of saying my knowledge is superior to yours? Essentially, it boils down to two things. One is the protection of the me factor and a constant need to enhance this me factor, saying my opinion holds. It's better than your opinion. So listen to me first before I listen to you. Imagine the amount of war that takes place in your mind when you hold this view about your spouse. And I'm going to say something which is going to be not very good for most people here. Every one of you is loving not the individual, but the image that you have about the individual, unfortunately. Father, mother, daughter, son, brothers, sisters, husband, wife, all of us are only loving the image that we have about the person. We are not really loving anybody truly. This is the fact of the matter.
Swamiji, I have a question about what you're saying.
Right.
So you said that the best way to resolve this is you look at the other person as an individual and you have to accept them as their own individual. But doesn't that, I'm not saying it's contradictory to what you're saying, but doesn't that cause a conflict because it creates a sense of duality? Like you're giving them that like individual, how do I explain this? Like you're, one of the concepts that you have expressed is like you should remove the me factor in you, but by accepting another person's individuality, are you not accepting that they are also a me factor? Like, does that make sense what I'm saying?
Not sense. It makes eminent sense.
So like how do you how is that what you're supposed to do, or like how if you are accepting that person's individuality, then you are accepting that they are a me, that they have an ego. But if you yourself are telling us that we have created ego and that we should eliminate the me, isn't that like you're contradicting yourself kind of thing?
Yeah, if you look at yourself as the me, which I already defined as the body and mind, and him as another you, which is the body and mind of that other person, yes, it's a duality. I am not talking about that at all. I'm asking you to go beyond this body and mind and saying that the consciousness that holds this body and mind that he has, and the consciousness that holds me that I have, the body mind, are the one singular consciousness. I am going to get rid of the you in him, which is the me, for as far as he's concerned, which is body and mind. I'm just not going to look at him as the body and mind. And I'm going to look at him when I say I am looking, not my body and mind, me, the consciousness is looking at him, the consciousness. To consciousness, no difference at all. There's no duality. If you loved your husband because of who he is, that's loving the image. If you remove the name, the form, the title husband, and you love him for what he is not, right now you're loving him for what he is. You have to start looking at him for what he is not, which is not the body and mind. When you do that, then your love is infinite, unconditional. Absolutely, it will be unconditional. Not just that. When you love somebody like that, every day the person who is in front of you is a new person. Otherwise, when you love only the image, it's a hard task for you because you have to renew what was left before. You loved somebody yesterday, then between yesterday and now, it dipped because you were focusing on his body and mind, which started to behave differently from what you have in your mind about him. Image changed. So there's a dip in the value of love for him. And then you have to bring it back. So you're just all the time moving up and down, up and down. There's nothing consistent there. And there's hard work that you have to do to again love that same person. Is this why we are living? What is really living? This is passing the time. Every minute of yours can be enjoyed to the fullest extent if you remove this body and mind and love him for what he is not and what that is the consciousness. What he is not is his consciousness. What he is his body and mind, the image that you have about him. So the duality is crushed instantaneously. You don't look at him at all. Same with daughter and father and wife. Everything is the same thing. If you love somebody based on the image that you have, I can tell you it's a finite love. It's a conditional love. Because it changes. That's the reason why you're never happy with one person beyond a certain time. What an amazing thing is this. And when we claim, I love my husband so dearly, I love my daughter so dearly, are you all telling lies to yourself? This is self-deception. Get out of this body and mind and start looking at somebody as if that person is you yourself, which is the reality. You don't love somebody. Love thy neighbor as you would love yourself. You heard this? No. Love thy neighbor because he is not different from you. What's the most effective way? You got it now. Stop the chattering that takes place when you're hearing somebody. You know, when you do that, how much of pleasure is going to come to you is what I'm going to tell you. Because everyone wants gratification here. If I want to listen to you, it must make me feel happy. I want to tell you, do that and see. Just give a moment for the other person to say something. It's a different matter whether you act on the suggestions given by your husband or your wife or your daughter or the son or whatever that is. It's a different matter. But that's the next step. The first step is to see, give a hearing. When you do that, you can literally see the feeling of pleasure on that person's face, which in turn will come back to you as a pleasure itself. And over a period of time, you will see that every time you listen to somebody, this concept of pleasure, that's all of you people know, will flow into your body constantly like a nectar. You want that? That's the question. Or you want to hold on to this me that you are, and constantly live a life that is not livable. You're not living a life at all. The whole rules of marriage changes. Why should it? Because of the me. You must get rid of this me instantaneously. There's no waiting period for getting rid of me. There is no process involved in getting rid of me. Process means time. Time means changes. You got to realize, what do I want from my life? I want peace. I want continuous happiness, not this pleasure that is getting renewed every now and then. It's so mundane. The activity that every one of you is involved, whether it's pleasure from listening to music or pleasure from eating good food or being with your friend, your father, mother, spouses, they are all just mundane stuff. That's why you get bored of it. And when you eliminate this, me, and look at that person as not different from you, there's no question of it being mundane. I hope the concept will sink in so deeply in every one of you. That's why in Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, Mananam is going to be introspection, which you need to do now. Whatever you heard, don't accept what I have said to you. In fact, you should reject it. Because when you reject the concept that I've taught right now, the concept that we discussed right now, when you reject it, then the reality will unfold in itself. If there are no questions, anybody? Somebody has raised hands at this time. Yes, one question. Okay.
Yes, Guruji. I didn't fully understand what Upadhi means.
Oh, Upadhi. Upadhi, okay, let me give you a simple example. Upadhi basically is the power of the that substance. You can use the word substance just for the sake of understanding. Is the power of the substance to show something else different from what it is. Let me explain to you. You see the sun, right? The sun is so powerful that it can light the whole universe. But a cluster of cloud as it passes through the sun can diffuse the power of the sun and actually cause a cloudy day for you, right? The truth is, the cloud by itself cannot be seen by you without the sunlight. But this cloud, which is depending on the sun for it to be seen by other people, has the power to say, sun, you don't have the power. So it's showing you that the sun is powerless. That is the Upadhi. So if the mirror, for example, has got lots of, it's not clear mirror. It's called impurities. It will not reflect you in totality, right? So what does the Upadhi done? That's the Upadhi. All those, black spots that you see on the mirror is the Upadhi. So the Upadhi is basically doing what? It's not showing who you are in reality. So when the Upadhi covers the mind, which it will, because you're not supposed to be an intelligent person in this life of yours, then the Upadhi will get formed in conjunction with the karma that you are supposed to experience. And let's take an example. In the karma, you're not supposed to be doing well in the school, in studies, just as an example only. There has to be a limitation. You can't be the topper. This is also part of that reputation issue, which comes part of the karma itself. So the Upadhi will get formed nicely at the time when you are expected to study well. So when you're expected to study well, what is required for you is to be able to understand whatever is shown to you in the books. And you must become aware of it. Not only that, you have to remember and then to be able to answer the question. Upadhi will nicely come and sit around at that place where the reflection is caused by this awareness principle called the consciousness, and you will not be able to see what the consciousness is showing to you. So, which really means that this upadhi has impacted the consciousness to that extent, isn't it? Otherwise, this consciousness will show you everything that is in and around you. But now this upadhi has come and says, no, what you're showing is only partial. But that's not the truth. The truth is you are not becoming aware of the totality, what the consciousness is anyway showing it to you. So basically, it is affecting the power of consciousness because you're supposed to get affected according to your karma. Is that clear now?
Swamiji, question.
Okay, I have no problem, but we have to be watchful of the time. Some people may be hungry. I don't know. I'm quite okay to talk another 5 hours if you wish. But yeah, so this is what happens in this kind of lectures and discussions. A lot of questions. So I can do this in a way. Can you please write it down? So from the subsequent sessions, what I'll do is I can take A question or B question for sure at the start. I can cut out the time that we spent on recap because I think all of you are very intelligent and really focusing on what I'm talking, I'm hoping. And it's just that you put the head plugs because head plugs always helps you to ward off the unnecessary chatting that takes place in your. But there are people who can think hundreds of things even when the head plugs are on. It's amazing, how the mind works. But nonetheless. So yeah, one question. I will take one more question. Yes. What's the question, please?
Is that Maya plays a role in Upadhyaya?
Oh my God. You have to first know what is Maya then. Yeah. So Maya is the other way of describing Upadhi. So Maya basically tells you what it is not. Maya, if you put it reverse way, it is Yama, right? Yama basically is Ya Sa Maya, means that which is not there is what is being shown by me. That is Maya. But this is at the larger context. So Maya is considered to be that which makes you think that this world, which is you see in front of you, is real. You remember the starting point, I put one thing, everything that you perceive is not real. Nothing is real, I've written there, remember? So when you see that something is physically present in front of you, you tend to think that there is a reality there. But when you look at intellectually saying, there is no reality because if you are real, you must be self-independent. No object in this world is self-independent. The only self-independent entity is the consciousness. So what's the role of Maya? Maya is telling you that you are self-independent when you are not. And it prevents you from seeing the truth, which is the self-independent entity called the consciousness. So it has in a way acted like the Upadhi. Beautiful analysis, beautiful thinking. Who was that? Nice. So the other word for Upadhi at a larger space can be the Maya. But Maya has got too many, you've got to understand it has got two powerful qualities. One is to basically create something and then to show that creation is real. Vikshepa Shakti and Avarana Shakti. Two of them they have. Ignorance. Basically, Maya is ignorance. at the cosmic level as well as at the individual level. So Maya is what is showing you. It's responsible for the creation. Okay, what is the creation? Maya is the energy. I started talking to you about the whole world is created from out of the energy only. That's scientific. So we call that energy as Maya, ignorance at the cosmic level. It creates us first. We come into the being, and then it also makes sure that at the individual level, it does not make you feel that the consciousness is your real nature, your real intrinsic nature is consciousness. It hides you. It like puts a blanket over the consciousness and says, you're only the body and mind at the individual level. At the cosmic level, it has created this universe, and it makes you to believe that this world, which is seen by you at a physical level, is real. But the truth is, what you see in the physical experience need not be the truth. You want to have an example of that? Physical experience does not qualify it to be real. Every day we use the sentence, the sun is rising and sun is setting, because of an experience, right? That's a physical experience. You see the sun moving actually, do you? And then you use the word sunrise and sunset. Is it a correct expression at all? It's not. It's the earth which is moving around. But we have used sun is rising, which is not. So physical experience does not mean it's real. So when you see somebody in front of you, he may be there physically, of course. But that doesn't mean that he exists in this world independent of what your consciousness can recognize. If I decide not to recognize your presence, you don't exist. Which is the truth. And I'm going to talk about this with reference to God. You may not like it, but this is the reality of the concept. When you're walking by the road, specifically in India, you have plenty of temples, one end of the street and another end of the street. Two different temples. You're not sure which temple you should be actually following. As you enter, there is one temple. When you leave the street, there is another temple. So much so that you're confused. And you've seen many number of people who don't pay attention to the fact that there's a temple there. Have you seen that? They just walk. To them, is there a temple? Is there a God? Because the passerby has refused to recognize the presence of that temple. That's God. But is a non-entity as far as this man is concerned. Because he walked past without even looking at that there is a temple. So which really means that God in the temple is dependent on this human being for recognition. So it has got no self-independent existence. So is the case with every individual in this world. And we every day are struggling with non-entities in this world and causing so many disturbances in our minds, don't know how to tackle it. We don't get sleep in the night. Wow. How amazing can this be? All right. Wonderful. Lot of time for you to introspect. That's one full week. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Shantam Premam Anandam.